G'day guys and welcome to Aussie English. My objective here is to teach you guys the English spoken down under. So whether you want to speak like a fair income Aussie or you just want to understand what the flippin' hell we're on about when we're having a yarn, you've come to the right place. So sit back, grab a cuppa and enjoy Aussie English. G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome to this episode of Aussie English. This is another interview episode and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Damian Duffy, aka Wildman. But before we get into that, guys, welcome to the Aussie English Podcast, the number one podcast for anyone and everyone wanting to learn Australian English. Whether you want to understand how we speak, the accent, the slang that we use, or whether you want to sound like an Australian when you speak, the Aussie English Podcast is for you. And the Aussie English Podcast is brought to you by the Aussie English Classroom. So that is my product. That is the online learning environment where you guys can get courses that go with these lessons. They go with the interview lessons. They go with the expression episode lessons that are on the podcast. The whole point of this online classroom is to help you study and learn Australian English even faster. Anyway, guys, today I have the pleasure of chatting with my mate Wildman. With Damian, he was up north at the time in Darwin, doing a whole bunch of stuff up there, running cruises, feeding Crocs. We talk a little bit about that. We talk about crocodiles. We talk about Muppet politicians. Someone who is a Muppet is an idiot, so we'll use that in Australia to refer to people we don't like. It's kind of a polite way of saying that someone's an idiot. He's a Muppet. So we talk about Pollies, politicians who are total Muppets, and then we also talk about how Wildman got the name Wildman and got started with his career running around Australia, photographing animals and doing all sorts of larrikin-esque kind of activities. Anyway, Wildman's an absolute champ, guys. I have broken down one of his videos previously, so you may have seen him on YouTube. If you want to check that out, just search Wildman Aussie English and you'll see me break down his accent. He has a very, very thick Australian accent. It's incredibly ochre. It's actually one of my favourite Australian accents, and I have a little bit of accent envy. So make sure if you have trouble understanding anything that he says, and anything I say, to jump online and download the transcript so you can read everything that we're saying whilst you listen. Anyway, guys, without any further ado, let's get into today's episode. Let's go and chat with Wildman. So, welcome to this episode of Aussie English, man. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for, as well, letting me do that video originally on your content. That was amazing, and everyone listening to it was right up their alley. They were loving it, dude.
Yeah, no dramas, mate. Too easy.
So, I've got a bunch of questions here for you, Damian. Just to start, Wildman, how did that get started? How did you tell us a bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and how did it all get started?
The Wildman thing got started just because I'm a bit of a loose unit and I kind of get a bit wild, so the name kind of stuck, the Wildman. It started off just with the photography because I do the wildlife photography thing and I needed a good name for it, and I thought Wildman Photography is a pretty good name. And gradually I progressed from there and thought to myself, the adventures that I go on to get the photos that I get are interesting in themselves, and I'm going out to all these pristine, amazing places, beautiful landscapes. Why not start doing videos? And they took on a life of their own. So, yeah, that's hopefully kicking off.
So when did that start? How long have you been doing the photography side of things?
I think I've been doing photography for decent photography for maybe about 2.5, 3 years. I bought a camera about 4 years ago and just taught myself how to use it. Got a few hints and tips off some other people and just went from there. And then I've managed to get myself to where I am now. I was always learning. There's always something else to learn. But having a lot of fun with it, mate.
Yeah, and what are the best experiences been so far? What are the best shots that you've caught or the best adventures you've been on? Or are they all good?
To be honest, they're all good, mate. But going into national parks, for example, Litchfield National Park's always phenomenal. I used my GoPro the other night to swim with a freshwater crocodile at night time and film it underwater with an underwater torch on my GoPro. So that was amazing. But basically anything, mate. And whenever you're going out and finding wildlife, the experience in itself is invigorating, and it makes you really enthusiastic about what you're doing, because you don't just walk out the side and you got like black-necked storks and crocodiles and kangaroos and snakes, and they're not just sitting out the front waiting for you.
Yep.
You got to go look for them. So it's all part of the adventure. And when you find something that's really, really exciting, then you can take photos and show other people what you saw, and that's exciting as well.
And so, have you always lived up north in Australia? Did you grow up in Queensland? Whereabouts did it all begin for you?
Oh, mate, if I go by the legend, I fell out of a dingo's arse in the bush somewhere. But, no, to be honest, mate, I was born in Western Sydney.
Yep.
Yeah,
no judgment. I'm from Melbourne. No judgment. No judgment.
I'm Mexican. I got rellies down in Melbourne, in Mornington, Mount Martha. I got a few mates in Frankston, Frank Canistan.
Yeah.
Some bad units, but I lived in and around Sydney, Parramatta, Rosehill, Mount Druitt, all the rough areas, But I was pretty young then, and then I moved away to the Central Coast around Lake Macquarie, a couple of hours out of Newcastle. I think I've been to 9 different schools, Like I've lived out in the bush in New South Wales. I've lived near the city. I went to Noosa, lived there for a couple of years. Went back to the other side of the Blue Mountains, in a little one-horse town called Portland. That snows there. It's horrible. And then I ended up back in Brisbane, and I was there for like a couple of years. And then I went and joined the army. Ended up back in Sydney doing paratrooper. Then I went back to Brisbane, and I was there for 7 years, and then I moved to North Queensland, and I was there for maybe 4.5 years, and now I'm in the Northern Territory, and I've finally found a place where I'm meant to be. I thought it was North Queensland, mate, but since I moved here, North Queensland, I'll always have a piece of my heart, but Northern Territory, mate, is just next level. It's a phenomenal place.
You were at the Daintree Rainforest, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And so how do the two compare then? Obviously, you're just saying Darwin's a lot better, is it? Or
yeah, it's better for me because it's just more loose, mate. Like everything's so relaxed and chilled out here. My favourite pub's the Humpty Doo. I don't have to wear shoes when I go in there. People occasionally bring in snakes or crocodiles or ride a water buffalo in. Like it's loose, and that's what it's the last wild frontier in this country, unless you count suburbs like Campbelltown or whatever, But that's too loose. That's even too much for me. But it is the final wild frontier. As far as wildlife goes, even at the end of the dry season, there is still animals everywhere.
Yeah.
Blowing my mind. My camera has had one hell of a workout. Thank goodness Nick on make tough cameras. But it's a completely different environment. Over in North Queensland, it's a tropical rainforest. And you do have pristine, beautiful waterfalls, and you got your rainforest snakes and all your reptiles and all that sort of jazz. And of course, you've got some crocodiles there, small density, but some.
Yep. The salties as well as the freshies.
There's freshies that live out on the tablelands out towards Chillagoe as you go further inland. But you got a few salties along the coast. If you ask Bob Cutter how many salties there are, there's probably about 10 million, and they're waiting at your front door to mug you when you go get up to work in the morning.
10 million too many.
yeah, mate. But there's bugger all, man. There's bugger all up there. But in the Territory, there's heaps more, and that makes me happy because I like seeing them. And, of course, I work with them now. But you can't compare them. Two completely different environments. They're both as tropical as all buggery with the temperature.
Yep.
But it's hotter in the Territory. The wet season's much bigger in the Territory. But the sheer amount of wildlife here is just because they're big, vast wetlands, mate.
Yep.
And the biodiversity here rivals the biodiversity of places like the Amazon.
Yep.
Heartbeats per square metre is just still off tap. So,
because what's the population of Darwin again? It's like tiny, isn't it, compared to say Sydney?
Oh yeah, but even Cairns is small compared to Sydney. But Darwin is still it's barely even a city. I think it barely counts as a city.
Yep.
So, and it's small. There's like one main street in town. I went into town the other day, and it was like just a rural town.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't have all the skyscrapers and all that. Like what you say. It's not a very touristy place. You've got your tourist shops and whatever that sell souvenirs and all that crap. But of course you do. It is a tourist destination, but it's not you don't go there and think, oh, it's a tourist town. Like, you go to Port Douglas and you're like, it's very touristy. But everything's bloody expensive. But you go to Darwin and it's just like a place in Australia where people live that just happens to be awesome.
Yeah. And so the listeners, a lot of them are going to be people coming from overseas into Australia, and I'm sure all they will have seen are Steve Irwin docos and all those, TV shows showing the 10 top deadliest Australian animals. Should they expect to come to places like Northern Queensland and Darwin, get out of the car and be like killed by something instantly? Is that a realistic expectation?
You got more chance of getting killed by a local, mate, than one of the animals. But but no, like, in the middle of the city, people, like, I've told people that I used to ride a kangaroo to work, and school, not to work, to school, sorry, when I was a kid, and they were like, oh, really? And you're like, no. But, like, they'll believe anything you tell them. They'll believe anything you tell them. I once convinced a group of American biology students that Australia had bush monkeys, the Australian bush monkey in North Queensland.
The drop
bears.
They were
carnivorous. Yeah, no, they're proper bush monkeys. Related to the slow loris from Southeast Asia, and I gave him this big evolutionary spiel, and we spent about 40 minutes in the rainforest trying to look for bush monkeys, and they went back to America thinking that, but as long as it's a convincing argument, you can tell them anything, but they think that they're going to get off the plane and have to dodge brown snakes in the airport.
Yep.
And it is vastly different, and unfortunately, because of the amount of foot traffic from people, like cars and et cetera, even in some of the national parks, like, you've got to really go looking for the wildlife.
So what's the best way to do that too, and the safest way? If these people want to come to Australia and see these kinds of animals in the wild, what's the best way to do it, and what's the safest way to do it? And is there any danger when they do it, if they do it on their own as well?
If you do it on your own, unless you know what you're doing, stay in the car. You can go night spotting for reptiles and cruise along some of the rural roads, and you will see snakes. You put enough time in, you're guaranteed to see snakes in the early evening on the road within the first couple of hours after the sun's gone down, because they're getting that warmth off the road. The road's still quite warm. So, and they've got to cross the road somewhere. There's no snake crossings. But if they're going to do that, by all means, and you can even hop out of your car and take a photo, but just do it from a distance. There's no need to go and touch these animals or interact or antagonise them. You can take, and if you don't want to get out of the car, don't get out of the car. I mean, that's the safest thing. You can spot it and go, hey, cool, and wind your window down and take a photo. Snake's not going to jump in your window. But as far as any other animals, and snakes included, you can go on tours. They've got tours down at Corroboree Billabong. They've, of course, got the spectacular jumper crocodile cruise that I work on. There's plenty of different tours around there that will show you not only the places, but they'll point out animals. And these tour guides have been working here for years, some of them decades. Yep. So they know where to spot everything. They know how to spot it. They're good at what they do, and they can show you these animals in a safe environment, and it'll still blow your mind.
And what's it like? Yeah, getting up close and personal with Crocs. You recommend that as a good experience, I take it? Nothing like it?
You're exactly right, mate. When I was working in North Queensland, I was feeding 4-metre crocodiles with nothing in front of me, hanging a bit of chicken in a wildlife park, so that was phenomenal. But now I'm working on the river with them. It's totally different in the wild, because the captive crocodiles, although they still have all the wild instincts, they're a captive animal, and they just go through the motions of the show and whatnot. But when you're out on the river, you're not always interacting with them. A lot of the time, you're just observing their behaviours and explaining their behaviours to other people. And we're watching these crocodiles out in the river interact with each other, interact with the environment around them, including potential prey items. They go and fend for themselves. They don't rely on us for food. Yep. They take advantage of it, but it's not uncommon to see one of the crocodiles swimming around with a pig or a wallaby.
And so what are your thoughts currently with the numbers of them too? Because I know since like about the 70s, they've come right back, right? They've shot up, but then now we have politicians like Qatar who are saying we need to cull them again after they were already closely, hunted to extinction. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in the past, I'm pretty sure I've made my thoughts on Qatar quite clear. He bases none of his argument on scientific fact. It's all scare tactics and fear-mongering and using words like infestation, plague proportions. He's trying to say there's a fatality every year, but then he goes off and goes, North Queenslanders are getting ripped to pieces and there's nowhere safe to swim. It's an absolute load of rubbish, and there's a bunch of people that have jumped on the bandwagon saying, we can't go swimming anywhere anymore. Now, I can tell you like a dozen places off the top of my head where you can swim safely, not to mention the lagoon and a flippin' swimming pool,
That's your own bath.
Yeah, if you're that hard up, run a cool bath. But everyone's got a swimming pool in North Queensland. You've got the man-made lagoon, but the numbers were up around 500,000 before the shooting era. Then between the 30s and 70s, they dropped down to around 3,000.
That's right. Yeah, they almost got exterminated, right?
Almost right out of this country. So at a rough estimate, and I'll say very rough estimate, numbers are between 250 to 350,000. That's what the experts reckon. But they're currently doing a study to ascertain how many there actually are in the country now. But the numbers are far lower than 500,000. So you could still fit, let's say, another 150,000 crocodiles in comfortably before they're at a natural density.
Yep.
And I've never understood this concept of humans wanting to manage the environment. Like, these animals have been around for 100 million years in their current form, doing just fine. Never were they overpopulated. Never were they in a plague proportion or an infestation, or never were they damaging the environment around them. On the contrary, they're very, very important as an apex predator for their environment. So for a human to go, nah, we should manage them, well, no, mate, they manage themselves. And as human beings, we need to manage ourselves. Yeah, I do agree with if there's a crocodile in suburbia going up a suburban creek, and there's a 3-metre crocodile there, it's got to be removed because that is a very immediate danger and it's gone right up into the middle of where people live. But if you're living out in the bush on a cane farm, or if you're living in a rural area and there's crocodiles around, you need to be aware of that and manage yourself. And if you do so correctly, you'll never, ever get attacked by a crocodile. So
it seems like
basically, I think that's a really way of saying Bobcat is a muppet.
It always seemed like one of those things that's kind of like a murder happens in Melbourne and it's, what's the answer? Oh, we'll just cull 10% of the population. You're like, that didn't solve anything. Like, But so what would an Australia look like without Crocs?
It'd have a pretty serious impact on the ecosystem, because they're an apex predator. So not only do they keep their own numbers in check to a degree. You've got crocodiles eating other crocodiles, which they do. Only 1% of crocodiles survive anyway from being an egg to adult. But young crocodiles, eggs provide food source for goannas and snakes. And then once they're born, they provide a food source for fish, snakes, other crocodiles, sharks, birds. Then once they get older, it's kind of more the bigger animals like your sharks that'll get them. And then once they're a little bit bigger, crocodiles do potentially eat each other. They are opportunistic and cannibalistic. So they're a food source not only for themselves but for the environment around them, but they keep other animals in check. They also are beneficial to, let's say, fish numbers, because where crocodiles hang around, they hang around near fish nurseries and they'll prey on animals that eat fish eggs.
Yep.
So if you've got crocodiles preying on them, less of them are taking the amount of fish eggs. Therefore, where you've got crocodiles, you've got more fish. Everything in nature has a balance, and it's a delicate balance. If you remove a big puzzle piece out of there, everything else, it might not happen overnight, it might not happen in 2 months or 6 months or a year, but you will definitely notice a cascading effect and things will fall apart. They really will.
I think they showed that in Yosemite National Park, right? When they got rid of the wolves and the deer just went nuts and destroyed the land, like just trampled all the plants. The grasses weren't growing properly. The rivers actually changed their courses as a result. And then once they reintroduced the wolves, they were like, oh, look, everything's back in balance now. And it's kind of like, well, you need the guys at the top there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do?
What's similar things happen with dingoes, mate? Because where they took dingoes out of the area, they had a lot of problems, and now they've reintroduced dingoes into some areas. They're attacking the wild dogs that are attacking the cattle.
Yep.
The cattle are getting attacked a lot less because the dingoes don't see them as food. And a lot of the feral animals like foxes and rabbits and cats, their numbers are dropping because that's what the dingoes are eating. They've been established in this country for thousands of years.
Yeah.
They're a natural apex predator here now, and they're important. They're part of the ecosystem. So don't take them out. Utilise them for what they're here to do, to get rid of the actual feral animals.
So how do they control, though, the mixing between the dingoes and the wild dogs? Because I would take it if you've got too many wild dogs and they start interbreeding with the dingoes, you're effectively just going to absorb that population of dingoes, right?
Mate, to be honest with you, that is a very, very difficult question, and I can't base that on any scientific fact because I don't have enough information regarding the interbreeding of dingoes and wild dogs. But that's a problem for someone with a bit more expertise to figure out, I think. But what they do at the moment is use 1080 poison, and 1080 poison isn't just eaten by the animals that they want to do over. It's eaten by everything. and they die a very horrible death. And then if anything else comes along and eats that carcass, they get poisoned too. So, I mean, like personally, I think that crap should be banned. It's used extensively in New Zealand. There are areas there where you can't hear a bird tweet because of the extensive death that poison is caused. They just go and spray it everywhere. It's ridiculous.
I know. I was doing master's degree on the lace monitor down in Victoria here, and they were eating them from time to time. We were just like, how do we, make these? I was studying them, and I'm like, well, you're finding them dead, and you're just like, why are we using this stuff for foxes when it's just destroying everything and anything that can fit it in its mouth?
Yep.
And so,
if history has shown anything, mate, it's when humans interfere, you have problems. Case in point, the bloody cane toad.
I was about to ask you about that.
Example, mate.
So how is that going in Darwin? I take it you would have seen it in Queensland, the cane toad in Queensland, and it's obviously well and truly made it to Darwin and beyond, and it's potentially threatening the Kimberleys now, right? And whether it's even gotten there and is going down to the Pilbara. What is it like in Darwin now that you've moved from Queensland where they originated over to Darwin? Is it just the same thing, exactly the same thing?
There's toads, but there's more in North Queensland.
Yep.
Just from looking around, you notice a lot more toads there. That said, there's still a lot of toads here. There's more than there should be because there shouldn't be any. Yeah. But even on just basing it on anything, there's still a lot of toads. And they've had a big impact on freshwater crocodiles, on snakes, on goannas. All monitor species have really suffered from it. Birds are starting to figure it out because they grab them, flip them over and eat the gizzards out of them and everything and leave the rest. So birds are cluing on, but we can only hope that other animals do so too.
Yeah, so is that happening slowly? Are the goannas and the crocs and that becoming evasive of eating them? Because the only ones that are left are the ones that didn't eat them to begin with, or?
Pretty sure they're learning, mate. And it's just, I think the term they used is forced evolution. Yeah. Because animals figure it out, they adapt and overcome and they evolve. So eventually, like some animals, when they're born, crocodiles are a perfect example. When they're born, they're not taught anything. Yep. Everything is ingrained into their mind biologically. They know how to hunt, stalk, and hide and do buoyancy and everything. They already know when they're born, which is phenomenal. Yeah. They're 2 days out of the egg, they just know what to do. But with other animals, I believe it'll work in a similar fashion where some animals just know that they shouldn't eat something. So, and that's just ingrained into them. So let's just hope that that's the way it's working with these animals. It is a slow process. Evolution doesn't happen overnight. Yep. But I think when they're faced with something as detrimental as cane toads, maybe it'll speed the process up a bit.
And so what do you think the future is going to be for cane toads in Australia, especially across the north and the top end there? Permanent residents now.
They're here to stay, mate. They're part of the ecosystem, and hopefully everything else around them will adapt, because to get rid of them is an impossible task. Good luck to the people who are faced with that task, who have been given the responsibility of trying to rid Australia of bloody cane toads. But they haven't got they haven't got Buckleys, mate.
As long as they don't bring something in that's worse.
Yeah, well, that's always an option, isn't it? That's how we got in this mess in the first place. I was reading a study on the cane toad. Apparently, because of the insecticides and pesticides they use on the crops, and then the cane toads are getting covered in it, and they're also eating all the insects that have died, ingesting or getting covered in this poison. It has increased the toxicity of the bufotoxin in the poison glands. Oh. So now they're even more toxic than before. Once again, directly due to human beings. When will we learn? The mind boggles, mate. It's 2017, and our government's more worried about spending $122 million on a plebiscite, deciding whether people get the same rights as other people. I mean, I know, has the world gone mad? Australia's gone backwards, mate.
That blew my mind, the fact that the plebiscite, it's something I don't, mind saying that I support gay marriage, but at the same time, the equivalent of 2,000 teachers' jobs going for $122 million could have employed 2,000 teachers, or, we could probably save how many extinct species with that same amount of money if you just threw it at that instead of just a postal vote. Yeah, that was insane.
There are more things that we could have used that money for than there are reasons why it shouldn't have happened in the first place. Yeah. I mean, there's every reason why the plebiscite is absolute bullshit before you even start on the money side of things.
Yeah.
Whose right is it? I mean, I'm only voting because if I didn't vote, dickheads would, and then it wouldn't go through. So, you've got to do...
And then I can't complain.
Yeah. So, you've got to get involved because at the end of the day, mate, we're all human beings. And fair enough, like all these people are saying this stupid rubbish about, and then they're going to want to marry dogs next or want to marry kids. That was never a part of it. And that all they're doing is focusing specifically on the sex. They're going, same-sex marriage means people of the same sex are having sex. Piss that off.
It's happening anyway, buddy. Yeah, they're not waiting for permission.
That's right. So, and they're not doing it in the street in front of you. So why don't you just get over that and put that aside and just think to yourself, these are two human beings that love each other. Why don't they have the right to get married just like anybody else?
Yep.
So, to me, it's as simple as that. And all this other bullcrap fear-mongering that's going on, man, they're just talking out of their ass, trying to fire people up. But if this doesn't go through, all hope is lost, mate.
Oh, my God, I tell you what. Far out. Well, I know you've got a busy schedule ahead. You're probably wanting to hit the sack. But before we finish up, do you have any slang terms you'd suggest newcomers to Australia should learn? Any Aussie slang terms you reckon that... I mean, you've been used... Every single time I see any of your videos, you throw out about 5 or 6 at least in 30 seconds. It's infinite ammo for the podcast and for the YouTube channel. So are there any you think, as soon as you get off the plane, guys, learn these X number of slang terms and you'll fit right in?
Oh, bloody hell. I don't know, mate. Mongrel's a good one, a good word to use. It's very diverse. You can go, oh, you're a bit of a mongrel, or oh, you mongrel, like, oh, hey, well, I'm getting half a mongrel. So there's a lot. Don't tell them what that one means. But I don't know, mate. Like she'll be apples.
She'll be apples and no dramas. The ones I've heard you use.
She'll be apples, mate. She'll be apples. No drama, cane farmer. Like everything's gonna be right. No worries. What else? You don't have to swear at people. You can call them a buffhead. Someone does something, you go, geez, you're a buffhead. So that's good. And a ning-nong. A ning-nong, believe it or not, is highly offensive, okay?
A ning-nong is.
And it's just a really nice way of saying you're a dickhead.
Oh, brilliant, dude. No, thank you so much for your time, dude. I really, really appreciate it. We'll have to chat again soon.
No, I appreciate you giving me a bell, mate. This has been an absolute hoot.
Anytime. Thank you very much, sir. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoy this interview with Damian Duffy, aka also known as Wildman. Remember that you can find Damian at Wildman Photography on Facebook. You can also find him at Wildman Adventures on Facebook. Both of these pages will be linked in the transcript below, so you can go and check him out. He does some wonderful photography as well as some videos quite a lot, chatting about different things that he comes across in Australia. So it's a great way to practice your listening comprehension of the stronger Australian accents if you check out his videos and his posts on his Facebook pages. Also check out his Instagram, guys, and that is at Wildman Adventures, all one word. Okay, so again, all of this will be linked below. Massive thanks to Damian Duffy, to Wildman, for coming on the show. I absolutely love chatting to this guy, and we will be in touch soon to chat about what he's been up to this year. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I'll chat to you soon. See ya. G'day, mate. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Aussie English Podcast. If you wish to support the podcast and help me keep bringing you content, you can do so via my Patreon page. Remember, it's my mission here at Aussie English not only to help you understand Australian English, but to speak it like a native. If that's your goal, make sure you enroll in the Aussie English Classroom, guys, where you'll get all the bonus content for today's episode designed to improve your English even faster. Have a ripper of a day, and I'll see you in class.